Hello everybody, this is Mithril Zenith, and welcome to another map tier list. Last time we tiered Fire Emblem Sacred Stones maps, which frankly I'm a little bit more familiar with. But today we are tiering maps from Fire Emblem 7. Oh, let me turn down this music just a little bit. Have the gain down on desktop audio, but it was just blaring in my ears a little bit too loud. Okay, so Fire Emblem 7. I believe I said. Hopefully I said 7. Yep. So we got a lot of maps to cover and not a lot of time. Let's begin. So this is all Lyn mode maps, Hector mode maps, Eliwood maps, Gaiden maps, everything. I am going to be a little bit more cruel with my... cruel. What are my categories for maps? How do I tier these? I think I'm going to say that good, solid maps are ones that are fun to play, are interesting to play, have maybe an interesting gimmick or something that works well for it. I think a good map for Fire Emblem 7 is one that encourages you to think about how you proceed through it. Fire Emblem 7 is full of a lot of maps that just spam a lot of enemies, and, you know, you just, like, javelin hand axe your way through, which happens, but I think a good map is one that is memorable, one that has a unique design, and one that, even if it's ideal still to do that, because that's just how it is to play this game, it makes you think about how you're doing it, and makes you move forward, maybe if not in like a predetermined way, I don't just think that's great, in an interesting way. And also one that's not horribly frustrating and makes you lose beyond your control, because there are some maps like that. Okay, without further ado though, let's get onto it. Where is the prologue of Lyn mode? Because that is like D tier map. It's fine. It's a nothing map. It's a tutorial prologue map. I'm not gonna fault it for being that, but it's also not that interesting. It could be definitely trying a lot better. Could be doing a lot more. Yeah. Let's see. I guess if we're just going Lyn mode. Second Lyn mode map, it's fine. It's pretty solid. A lot of terrain there, encourages you to use it, even if the game itself isn't, like, really challenging enough to require you to do that. So it makes you feel good. It's a map that makes you feel good for playing it the right way. It's a solid enough map. C tier, again, you get a choke point, you get an archer. You get a flyer, which you need to use to get to the village. Other than that, not super interesting. We have attack a wall and get a Manikadi. Also not interesting. Maybe that'll be like E tier, that'll be like D tier. Yeah, that seems fair, right? These are Lyn mode maps, no one really cares about them anyway. Speaking of Lyn mode maps, probably a pretty decent map, A tier. Probably the only A tier map in Lyn mode we'll see is the map with Dorcas in it. It's a defend map, but it's a pretty easy defend map, but it still makes you think, and it's very... okay, that's probably B tier. It's very archetypical of defend maps. In Blazing Sword, Blazing Blade, it's not terrible. It's very simple. It's a very simple objective that for you to defend. You can just stand in the choke point, or you can hunt down the boss and end it earlier. Because there are some elements in that, maybe it doesn't end it. I don't know. It's an interesting enough map. I'll be willing to give it B tier like that, but I'm being a little generous when I do that. Introduction to opening doors and standing on pads, which you only do one other time technically. It's not even like a standing pad. Why is this map? Why? It's just way too slow for what it needs to be. We have the Black Fang map. It's kind of interesting. You have to rush to keep the thief from getting the hammer. But it's a hammer, so... who really cares? The stupid Wallace map with all the bandits and the fog of war. That's an E-tier map. Not terrible, just frustrating. The map that teaches you about Reaver weapons and ballistas is C tier. It's mediocre. It's fine. It does its job. Maybe I'm being too generous with these maps. We'll see. We have the Shaman map that everyone just fly skips. We have the map that you get Sarah and Urk on. Yeah, I'm definitely being too generous with these maps. We drop that down, and that's still a B tier map. It's fine. Lundgren's map is also like E tier because it's just slow. Nothing's really threatening except for the boss. I guess the boss is threatening. Makes you think a little bit, but the rain just kills any sort of pacing for the map, and it really doesn't need to be there outside of just introducing you to the concept of weather effects. So that's Lin Mode's maps done. They're not great. We have Elliewood's starting map, which is honestly a pretty good map. I don't get to play it nearly enough because most challenge runs are on Hector mode. Hector starting map, also a B tier map. Pretty solid, pretty good, makes you think a little bit how you proceed. Can trip you up on hard mode. You can lose. Even though Hector is built like a tank. If he doesn't get defense level ups and you don't heal him, he can die. Honestly, is this going too far to say that Chapter 12 is an S tier map? It's an early game map, it's a starting map, but it is a map where you are pushed to your limits. You need to use all your resources you can, even if you're like running out Marcus to solo a lot of things, you're encouraged to do that. But there's also so many enemies, and Marcus can't be everywhere at once. That's a common theme for Fire Emblem 7. Watch my Marcus solo run and see, Marcus cannot be everywhere at once, and that's a problem. I like it because, unlike Hector Hard Mode, you get those flying reinforcements, but you don't get too many reinforcements, and so it's a good amount of pressure added to the map, but it doesn't grind the map to a halt. I think for Fire Emblem 7 maps go, as far as FE7 maps go, Chapter 12 is probably one of the best maps in the game, which is kind of odd that I'm saying that. You have the map where Guy joins, like a B tier map. You have to be careful around Guy. You get the mine, you can get the torch if you're fast enough, and if you get both villages, I think, then you get the bonus chapter for Merlinus. If you get the torch village at least. Yeah, it's fine. And then the Merlinus defend map. It's probably an A tier map. It's one of the only defend maps, or survive maps, I guess, that feels particularly tense. Yeah, it's a very threatening map for early on. I like it. 13x, I think it is, if I remember right. Then you have... Okay, of course, you have the map where Urk joins. It's also pretty threatening. I think it's probably an A tier map. It's nowhere near as, like, engaging as its version in FE6, with, like, just the sheer difficulty, all the nomads, Rutger coming in, Clarine. So it kind of falls short of that. But I still think it's a solid basic map. The pirates from the south, if you're not careful, can destroy Priscilla's village, but they also provide a decent amount of like potential grinding options. The Pegasi are threatening, and I don't even necessarily mind the rain. I think the rain on this map is one of the few maps where the rain is actually interesting, because the rain grinds both you and the enemies to a halt, allowing you to deal with the enemies that you've lured in, and buying you a moment's breath to heal up, reposition, and prepare for the next wave of enemies. For challenge modes especially, this is actually a pretty interesting map. If you're playing it straight up, it might not be as interesting, but for challenge runs, this is an interesting map. It's a fun one. I'll tell you what's not fun is a map that you can literally just hide on the fort. The only thing interesting about that map, where you just defend for 7 turns in the castle, is trying to get the Draco Shield from U-Bands. Aside from that, that's like the only interesting thing on that map. What is this map? Trying to take a look at this and see, because I don't recognize it. Chapter 15. Oh, Noble Lady of Kalen. It's a fine map. It's like B tier. The Cavaliers from behind that threaten you are what make it a more interesting map. I think without them, it falls flat. Once again, interesting use of reinforcements makes it more interesting. I think that when you just spam reinforcements endlessly, or way too many of them, it's not interesting, but if you use them in small but meaningful amounts, then it's interesting. I think this borders on C tier because the Cavalier reinforcements are a bit too much, but because it is a seize map, you can just seize. You don't have to wait to route all of them. The Castle Attack map is A tier. It's one of the first maps that greatly encourages the use of javelins and hand axes because the entrance is just loaded with a combination of melee units and archers. It has a solid time pressure in those green units that if you don't make it to them by the time they are massacring, by the time they're getting themselves massacred on the single archer out there who can one-round all of them, you're doing something wrong. You also have Raven to contend with, which I think you need to talk with... who do you talk to him with? Do you talk to him with Lucius? Talk to Lucius and then use Lucius to talk to Raven? I don't know. Either way, you have Raven. Raven's recruitment can be a little bit challenging if I remember right. Solid map. I like it. A tier. Probably not S tier, but yeah, definitely an A tier map. Top of A tier. The Port Battle, it's a fun, different style of map. If you charge forward through the west, then everyone kills you, but if you go up north, you're fine. And you have the Paladin Kill Squad, which just drops in unexpectedly and tries to kill you. This is a fine map. Probably A tier. Maybe it's B tier. It's still memorable as well. The boat map, I think, is only B tier here. No, it is A tier, and that's because trying to get the guiding ring from the boss. Fire Emblem 7 is the most interesting when you have side objectives that become meaningful. When you have meaningful side objectives. Fire Emblem GBA maps are the most interesting when you have meaningful side objectives. And so this one has a meaningful side objective. Killing the boss, but not just killing the boss, stealing his guiding ring and then killing him. If you can do that, like figuring out how to do that whilst also doing all the crazy defense you need to survive on the other side of the boat is pretty good. Dealing with an enemy Lunatome, that's pretty tense. I think it's a solid map because it gives you that interest in side objectives that require you to use Matthew, require you to use your units in interesting ways. Then we have Fog of War map. You can potentially Fiora can potentially get herself killed right away. You get Dart. You have Uhai, who's just super dodgy and can crit you, and it's just kind of an annoying. This is an annoying map. That's a C tier map. It's fun. It's interesting. It's challenging, but it's primarily annoying. Then you have this monstrosity. It's fun for a little bit to get the, it's fun for a moment to play with, hey, Kashuna's turned off all the magic, and everyone here is a mage. And then you realize, oh wait, I have to kill Kashuna to get to the next Gaiden chapter. I don't want to do this. That Gaiden chapter is fine, it's just, it's a nothing map, it's not particularly interesting. It's just kind of there. Dragon's Gate. Dragon's Gate, I hesitantly put in A tier. Because it is a tough map. If you've ever done a challenge run, it is a tough map. Because you have a lot of time pressure to get to all the thieves. Especially to get to Legault and recruit him, get the member card. You have your first experience with enemy status staff users, if I remember right, and you can be put to sleep. You have a pretty strong boss in the very middle with a Cavalier kill squad, Cavalier Nomad kill squad. You have good use of reinforcements kind of from everywhere popping up, but not endless. You even have the ambush Pegasus from the back. There's a lot to deal with on this map, but you have the tools and options to deal with it. It's a solid map. It's an A tier map. Yeah. Fog of War map. You just arena grind with Ninian's, Nini's Grace and some rescue traps, and then you have to deal with a lot of wyverns. It's whatever. Another defend map. You get Isadora. Most of the enemies have Reaver weapons for whatever reason. You get Heath here. You do have to be a little fast to get the treasure, but I think there's like another... If you take out U-Bands again here, you can get another Draco Shield, I think, or Speed Wings or something. It's a fine enough map. It makes you think. Desert map. Desert map with Pent. Desert map with bandits in the very middle. Desert map where you have to optimize your experience gain to get to the next map. Surprisingly difficult map. Mostly because you're trying to use low-level units to optimize your experience gain. Other than that, it's not super interesting. There's decent treasure around, but outside of, like, the Ocean Seal and one of the rings, and like, okay, no, there is some solid good treasure in the map. Genesis, I think, is another S tier map. It is tough. It is tough. If you ever watched anyone try to do a full playthrough ranked run and go through Genesis, most people get their butt handed to them. It's another Kashuna map. Kashuna can move around a little bit. I think you have to kill Kashuna in all 3 maps he appears in order to get, like, the final map. So there's some pressure on you there. There's all the status staff wielders. Pretty much every enemy is promoted, which is a first for FE7. Like, you rarely fight many promoted enemies up to this point. They're mostly bosses or mini-bosses. And then it's just like, hey, let's drop you in a map where everyone's promoted. It is a tough map, it is a nightmare to get through, but it is fun. It is engaging. S tier map. B tier on Linus's version, C tier on Lloyd's version. Other way around. Lloyd, Linus, Mad Dog, and the Fog of War map. Where you get Wallace and he sucks, and you just lose, like, you're literally better off not recruiting him. It's kind of terrible. You can easily one turn finish Lloyd's version of the map. That's all I can say about it. There's a ton of annoying enemies on it, a ton of annoying reinforcements on it. Fog of War is brutal on it. It is a rough map, and not in a fun way, in a the game is going to take control now way. And Linus' map is fine. It's just kind of another generic map, but there's a lot of pirates to deal with, and so you have a little bit of time pressure there. We also have the bolting sage, but if you can kill the bolting sage before he equips his bolting, you can get the bolting. You have to do some weird gimmicks to make it happen, but it can work, and that's how you get bolting in this game. And so it's a kind of a fun little minigame to do that, but then to also not get killed in return because you're diving deep into enemy territory to get it. It's a fun map. It can be fun. It's not super interesting though. Vida's weird map. I'll put it at B tier because what is up with Gather Point AI? There are like 2 maps in this game that have Gather Point AI, and this is the worst offender. I wonder what this map would be like if it had truly aggressive spawns instead of Gather Point AI. Maybe this would be the roadblock map for so many people without that. Like having a Vida with an Uber Spear that actually comes at you in the last 2 or 3 turns or something, instead of just guarding the armory. I wonder what this map would be like with aggressive AI, I guess, is what I'm going to say. Without the aggressive AI, maybe it's even like C tier. No, it's still interesting. It's interesting in the fact that you want to try to... no, it's like C tier, yeah. It matches up more with the C tier maps than with the B tier maps, I think. Of course, the B tier maps are... maybe I've ranked these too high. It's okay. We have some bad maps over here anyway. I don't like either of the snow maps. You have either the one that you can end by killing the boss, or the one that you have to route everyone on. They're both just unfun maps. Getting points. Ooh, wow. So interesting. Capture 3 castles. Pretend like you're playing FE4, except FE4 is actually a game that's designed around it. You can do some fun stuff, but the reinforcements and the reinforcement zones are way too much. Just perfect example of FE7 overkill reinforcements on sheer numbers alone. Battle Before Dawn. How do you feel about Battle Before Dawn? Because based on how you feel about Battle Before Dawn, this is either an S tier map or it's an F tier map. I don't actually know. I'm just going to give it its own tier. Because I wouldn't necessarily say it's lower than everything else, but Battle Before Dawn is weird. Because it is a tense map. It's an interesting map. A lot of conceptualization went in to make this interesting, to try and time it out so it was playable and achievable and fun. But in my opinion, any map that leaves its results up to RNG, even for just 1 or 2 turns, even if it's highly likely, any map that truly leaves it up to RNG is cannot be excused as a reasonable map. Battle Before Dawn has so much potential going for it, if not for the fact that Jafar can just die or use up all his killing edge, or that the one brigand can just escape his grasp and get to the prince by turn 3, and if he hits him, then the prince leaves the pillar and dies. I've had way too many resets on this map trying to do it in terms of my unit solos, trying to do it in some interesting ways, trying to just do the map, sometimes even just on normal playthrough, just trying to do the map. Battle Before Dawn is such a stupid, frustrating map because of the RNG in its start. If it wasn't for the RNG in its start, it could be really good. Heck, Polythracia Script it so Jafar never dies. Script it so it's impossible for Jafar to die. He'll still use up his killing edge by turn 5. It's gone by turn 5. No matter what. Unless you, like, get there really quickly and stop him from killing stuff. It's gone by turn 5. But yeah, get him... give him Ivil's situation where he can get hit, but he can't ever die. And it might turn on... But, like, get rid of his elixir. Just make it so he can't actually die. Be far more interesting. Water Temple map. I don't like Water Temple maps. Just don't find them interesting. Cog of Destiny is a slog, and it's not fun. It's just frustrating. I thought I was hearing something. Yes, Cog of Destiny is just a slog. It's just more frustrating than anything else. One sec, I actually have to take care of something. Hello again, sorry about that. But yes, Cog of Destiny is not a good... It's not an enjoyable map. It's fine, but it just is so emblematic of FE7's problem with just reinforcements and reinforcement zones and spamming them. And then once you start getting towards the boss, oh, status staffs, those are interesting. Berserk, make your own units, kill your own units. And just like... It's just everything annoying about Fire Emblem 7 combined into one map. Elliewood's trial map, it's fine, I guess. It's... I pretty much never play it because I always play on Hector hard mode. It's not particularly memorable. It's another fire map with fire tiles that, if you stop on them, you can take 10 damage or something. I can never remember if it's this one, if it's FE6, or if it's Path of Radiance, where it's random which fire tiles light up, or if it's all of them. It's a fine map. It's pretty unmemorable. Same with Hector's challenge map. I think it's slightly more memorable because it's just Hector and one other unit, and you're highly encouraged to bring an unpromoted Matthew because there's some good stuff to steal and some treasure chests in there. And you can't bring Merlinus, and so you have to use what's in your inventory. It's a callback, throwback to Hector's Chapter 11. It's fun. It's fine. It's not particularly interesting, though. Not interesting enough. Maybe I will put it up there because I like the concept of a really low deployment map. I just don't think it's particularly interesting enough to make it super high up on the tier list. Same goes for Elliewood's map. We have a Message from Lord Nurgle map. One of the only somewhat interesting defense maps just because the enemies are strong. And they're particularly strong, and you need to fight through them to get to the treasure. You can warp staff for a secret shop, I think, but I forget if there's anything actually worth buying outside of like more physics saves maybe in the secret shop. You have... Yeah, down here in like... What am I supposed to say about battle preparations? It's a nothing map that is just designed to give you an opportunity to stock up for the final maps because they knew you might not have had a chance to stop by an armory recently. Not like the whole Black Fang arc doesn't have an armory. Not like you just went through a massive defense map without an armory. And right before that, a trial map without an armory. And right before that, another massive map with only one armory in the corner that chewed through all your weapons. Yeah, not like any of that happened. Not like you just had an entire Black Fang arc with like one armory in it that's reasonably accessible. It's a map that serves a purpose, and so I'm not going to fault it for that, but it is not a particularly exciting map. And it's a map whose purpose gets solved by having a between chapter base. You don't even have to have an open overworld. Just a between chapter base removes the need for this map to exist. Victory or death? Victory or D tier? Victory or death is only interesting insofar as, like, there are some time-sensitive objectives in the ruins that will get overrun by bandits. The boss is really strong, way overstatted Sage. And the enemies are pretty strong, but it is just spam. It is just as bad as Slog of Destiny. Maybe it's E tier as well. I think I'll give it D tier just because it's slightly more interesting because you have like the multiple paths to go through, and Cog of Destiny had that too. I don't know. For some reason, I don't dread Victory or Death quite as much as Cog of Destiny, and maybe it's just the fact that Cog of Destiny just spams Valkyries at you with high speed that no one can double outside of like Jafar. And if you're really lucky, one of your paladins might be able to. Or a Swordmaster or something, but then they can't count on enemy phase. Maybe it's just because it's the Valkyries that make Slog of Destiny so awful, but I think Victory or Death is slightly more tolerable. And it's D tier instead of E tier. And then the final maps. We have a Boss Rush, B tier for Boss Rush. We have D tier for It's Just a Dragon, lol. Oh, and I guess we have the final bonus map, which is an interesting map, if not particularly. It's a big wheel. It's a big wheel that keep on turning. It's full of literally berserkers and nothing else. It's there to pretty much encourage you to level up your lords for the final battle. And it's only accessible if you've gotten all the Kashuna stuff so far. It's fine. It's a fine map. I'm mostly putting it into D tier because I want to leave this to a single row per tier. I think it's probably C tier. But maybe there's a C tier map I can drop into D tier. Probably one of the Lin mode maps. Yeah, let's just drop that one in there, and then we can move that up. Yeah. Yeah. So basically what it is that S tier are maps that make you think. A tier are maps that make you tense. B tier are maps that are pretty fun. C tier are maps that get the job done. Wait a second, I didn't misplace these, did I? Shoot, I think I put Dragon's Gate and this other, and the guide map with the wrong spot. Yeah, I'm gonna fix that, yeah, because that is, yeah, I think this is probably where the tier list goes. And so, yeah, anything else that I want to adjust? Probably drop this down into maps that are pretty fun. Drop this down in maps that get the job done. Lin mode maps, probably, yeah, drop that down to maps that are boring. What is even that map? You can tell it's a great map when I look at the picture and I can't identify what this is. There's the river in the middle, going around. Oh yes, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so I think probably way too many maps that are just boring. So I don't think the prologue's boring. I think it's just I don't think it's annoying. I think it's just boring. Is there any of these that can move up? I guess that map gets the job done. The final maps are probably pretty decent. Then maps that make you tense. Oh, they're pretty fun. Yeah, the fire dragon is actually pretty annoying and pretty boring. It is just kind of... Oh, maybe it gets the job done. In which case maybe I move something else back down. Yeah... Yeah. Yeah. What even is this map? Oh yeah. Maybe with the mountains going up that way? Yeah. Yeah. No. Wallace's initial map and the rain map. And the... Wait, that's Wallace's original map. This is... Is that a reflected... Did somehow get reflected? No, it didn't. What map is this? 18X. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think that's the adjustment that I want to do. Yeah, there we go. There's my tier list. Sue me. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think of the maps here. Let me know what you think of maps in general. I hope you enjoyed this tier list. Sub to the channel if you want more tier lists. Let me know what game you want me to tier next. I'll probably just try to tier every game's maps that I can remember, but no promises on maps that I can't remember. Until then, this method was done, signing out.